Oh, good Lord. Sorry, guys, a massive bumblebee just flew in my office.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Go careful.
Oh, they're quite friendly. They're quite friendly bees.
I think they're quite friendly. I think it got confused. I'm going to try and open the window and see if it'll leave. Oh, can you hear it? Can you guys hear that?
I hear him.
Ooh. He's a big
Come on,
one.
Mr. Bee.
He's a big one.
He is massive. Come on, I'm trying to get you out of this place. It looks like it's trying to fly out the window, but it's at a pane that doesn't actually open.
Oh.
You'll get him. You'll get him.
Yeah,
so that was...
Got him out.
Hey, nice one. Nice
Sorry
one.
about that. Okay, cool. So Proxima.
Let's get ready to rumble!
Hello and welcome to Netflix vs. Cinema, the podcast that has at least 2/3 taken part in this brave new world of cinema going that we have on our doorsteps. Because if you haven't heard it, cinemas are back in the UK at least. My name is Tosin. I am your host. I am based up in Coventry near... Hang on, wait. I'm based in the Midlands near Coventry. No, man, I had a couple of weeks of getting that right. I was actually feeling really proud of myself. And now I've messed it up. But anyway, join me on Isle of Wight. People who have no confusion as to where in the country they are based are Sharon.
Hello.
And Shaun.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Yes, so the two of you, as I was saying, you have actually made it back into cinemas. Because Cineworld they were true to their word this time. They didn't participate in this game of chicken. They said the 31st of July. They opened on the 31st of July. They had films. You went to see them. I'm still left in the wastelands of not being able to see cinemas. So tell us what was the experience like? Let's go with the experience here before we talk about what you actually saw. How is it different going to cinemas now?
Well, I more or less dipped my toe into the waters like your avatar, Tosin, your little thing. I dipped my toe in the water of cinema going, whereas I think Shawnee dived straight in, didn't you?
Yeah, I immersed myself.
Yeah.
I did like a double whammy, a double bill, if you will.
Shaun. We know every now and then we always talk about you going beast mode, and I think you welcomed cinema back by going beast mode.
I did indeed. Yeah. And I'm probably going to be going quite a lot because I'm over here this weekend, so I'll probably be going quite a lot over the weekend.
Where's over here?
They've got Lord of the Rings trilogy, haven't they?
You're in Bournemouth, are you, this weekend?
No, I'm over here, but they got the Lord of the Rings trilogy, so
He's on the white side.
So when you say you're over here, you mean you're on the Isle of Wight?
Yeah, sorry, yeah. On
Okay,
on the Isle of Wight. So, I guess so. Over there, yeah, that would make sense. So yeah, I'm on the Isle of Wight this weekend. So tomorrow, because although I've seen them before, it'd be nice to see them again.
What, the extended ones?
Yeah, the Lord of the Rings trilogy is on.
Do you want to come, Sharon? You up for any?
I'm very tempted to see Lord of the Rings again at the cinema. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to the 12:30. I'm going to the 12:30 on Saturday. So, and tomorrow night I'm going to go and watch that. What's it called? There's a underwater one. I can't remember what it's called. But
I can't remember what it's called.
I'm going to see that at 8:00 tomorrow night. So.
Okay.
Okay. So
the experience.
Yeah, what is the experience like? How does the experience differ? What's it like when you talk us through it? It's okay. You're speaking to somebody who has of yet not had the privilege of going into a cinema because he refuses to pay anything more than what you paid. So talk me through it. Let me live vicariously through you.
Well, as an unlimited member, they encourage you to book online using your online account. So I've got what's called like a Cineworld Plus account, which means I can book online any number of times using my tickets. And any friends, if I've got friends who've got unlimited cards, I can book a ticket with their card as well. So it means, but they encourage you to book online. And then this procedure for book online is exactly the same as it was before. You choose your film, you choose your time, and then it takes you into the screening, and you get a visual representation of the screen where everyone is sat, and you can choose your seat. And because I was on my own, there was no issues about where I could sit. I just went, I want to sit there, and it was fine. I think if you were in too close a proximity to another group, I don't know if an issue would arise with them saying this seat is not available. But when I went, I could sit anywhere. There was no limit as to where I sat. So I chose my seat. And they do say, because there's going to be a very reduced program, that it's not going to be as many trailers or as many adverts before the film, you need to be at the film quite promptly. So if it says it's at 2:30, you need to be there more or less at 2:30, because they may start the film straight away. They may not necessarily run trailers, depending on how they've staggered the closing and starting times. So my film, I went in, they had something like 2 trailers and then 1 advert, and then it was into the film. So within 5 minutes of me sitting down, the film had started. So it's a much quicker.
Oh, good Lord, that sounds like bliss.
And then you obviously sit down and watch the film. So when I came home, my mum said, "Have you been already?" It was like, "Yeah." That wasn't very long. How long were you gone? I said, "Well, the length of the film." That's more or less how long I was there, because there's very little padding. And so when you go in, all the staff have got masks on. There's these perspex screens up in front of the tills, and then there are hand sanitizer stations. And when you go into, I use my phone to book my ticket, so I have a QR code, and they do say you either hold it up or you can put it down on the desk, but they won't actually take it from you or touch it.
Yeah.
So I just held it up and they sort of scanned it, and then I was directed in. But they're all masked and gloved.
So they're masked, but you don't have to be.
I didn't have to this week, but from Friday you will have to, even inside a screening. That's the new law from the 8th of August. You have to wear a face covering for the entire thing. So I wore one in transit. So in all the public areas, I wore my face covering. Then I took it off when I was actually in the screening. But from next week, the expectation is that you should, or from tomorrow, that you should be wearing it the whole time you're in there.
Yeah, because I was thinking...
if you're only a few people in there, I don't imagine. I think you might be able to...
Or like just surreptitiously just lower it so you can take a breath and then put it back up. So
wipe the sweat off your face from when you're like...
because like what Shaun was saying, Shaun was talking about Lord of the Rings cinema, the trilogy coming up, and I'm thinking that's going to be the proper COVID test. If you're going to be sat in the cinema for 5 hours, you're sort of sat down there watching, then if you're going to catch anything, if anything is going to travel over, it's going to be in a Lord of the Rings screening. So that's going to. So yeah, so I can imagine. I can imagine it might be a good thing for it to have a mask on in there for that one.
I did ask the staff, I said, what's going to happen when masks are compulsory? Are you still going to be serving snacks and drinks? Because if you've got to wear a mask, how are you going to either of those things? And they said, you know what? We haven't thought about that. I said, it's going to have to be a very bendy straw. So it can either sort of get around here and...
Well, I think that might just be the... That's the general thing in the world at the moment is, how about this? Oh, we haven't thought about that. You need to come up with something quick.
Yeah, they're very much they do that. It's like there's John. Yeah, my experience was really similar to yours. Really, I mean, the first one I went to see, and you can still get them at the counter, can't you? Because I went over, you know, like United Canal Cinema, the street counter thing. Because I booked online for Unhinged, and then I thought, do you know what? The times match up, so I'm going to go see another movie. So I went over and I said, can I see the Empire Strikes Back as well. So he went, and I ended up chatting with the guy, because like I do with all the stuff, So I was chatting away like that, and I said, I better go in. And he went there, and I got in just as the first film was starting. So you're exactly right with the trailers and stuff. And there were, I mean, people should know, because there was hardly anyone in the screening, but there were 2 other people that came in, but they came in and they'd missed the beginning of the film, so they obviously still thought, we're going to have the trailers, we're going to have the the adverts, but they didn't, so they missed quite so
all right. I look forward to it. Odeon has been sending messages saying, oh yeah, we're going to be coming. I think this will be at Odeon cinemas from the 8th of August, and I found that some Odeon cinemas are actually open, just not the closest one to me. So
right.
Yeah,
they're testing the waters again, aren't they?
There's one about half an hour away from me in Tamworth. That one's open. So I was actually looking at going, oh yeah, because there's this new Seth Rogen film, An American Pickle or something.
Yes.
Yeah,
that's coming to the Newport this weekend.
Yeah, I was thinking of going to see that one. All right, so before we get on to what films you actually saw, because obviously, as we said, Sean has gone beast mode, and Sean, this has kind of confirmed in my mind that for you the real love is cinema, because during lockdown it was always kind of like I know there was football, but even when there wasn't football it was kind of like, yeah, maybe I've seen some things, maybe I haven't seen it, but the second cinema comes back you go, right, I've seen that, and also it wasn't enough that I saw something at cinema, I went home and I watched this and that and that. Before we get onto that, I just wanted to, I think last week we were talking on the podcast about the gate that nearly killed you. And
oh, did I send you a photo? I didn't send it.
You sent me the photo.
Oh, I did send it.
I put it up onto our Facebook page, and that photo has gotten the most engagement of anything that we've put on our Facebook page. I mean, it is.
I'll have to have a look at that.
Yeah. I'll say, Shaun, you are loved. Let me just put it that way. So I put it up. Yeah, I put it up, and within about 2 minutes of me put it up, we had Dennis Jones. Remember Den? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we had Dennis Jones. He was just kind of like, "Oh, what happened?" And I was like, apparently someone was supposed to fix it, but didn't put it back on the hinges. Sean tried to close it and it fell over. And he went, hell, glad he's okay. and not long after that, Nina, superfan Nina, came on and was like, who would have taken the opposite view on the podcast all the time and reviewed the strange movies that no one knew about but our ace? It could have. Cool. Yeah, it could have been a disaster. To which I replied, for that reason and for that reason alone, yes. And Happy John, he just sort of replied with a wow emoji. So sure, just wanted to let you know you are loved. People share our sentiment that it's a good thing. We're happy the gate missed. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Oh, thanks.
No one wants
thanks
to see you
to
squished.
everyone.
Yes.
No.
Yeah. So now we get onto what it is you actually saw in the cinema. So I think there's a film that the both of you actually saw, this is Proxima. So let's see. So you both saw Proxima. Shaun, you saw Unhinged. You went back and saw a re-release of Empire Strikes Back.
Strikes Back. Yep.
Okay, and for anybody listening to this. Because of the heady excitement of cinemas being back, this might be a chaotic show. This might be an absolutely chaotic show. We usually go see at least 3 things in the cinema, 3 things at home, and we compare them. We rate them out of 5, and we say which one, where did we get the best bang for our buck? Was it Netflix or was it cinema this week? This might be a bit chaotic because we're just cinemas, they're back. So so you did that, and then you saw something at home as well. You saw, I think, was it the Decline?
The Decline, yes.
Okay, you saw the Decline. So we have Decline on the Decline,
and the Last Days of American Crime.
Oh, Last Days of American Crime. That's a documentary, isn't it?
But both those in Flatbed. No, it's a movie. I think it's called that. The Last Days of American Crime. Yeah,
I've heard that title. I've definitely seen it somewhere. Yeah, and I saw the Nightingale.
Ah.
Okay, so we do have. Who cares? Anyway, let's kick off. Let's kick off with Proxima, which is what both of you saw. So, because we're going to be hearing a lot from Shaun, Sharon, do you want to tell us Proxima? All I know is that it has Eva Green in it. I've seen in some sort of mech suit in a picture. What's this about?
Yeah.
What's this about? And let me get that 7-minute timer going. All right, cool, good, go for it.
It is about Eva Green's character, who basically is a French astronaut, and she has been selected to take part in a particular grueling mission, which means she will be off of the planet Earth in space for about, they believe, more than a year. Mm-hmm. And she has a young daughter. She's only been selected because another astronaut has fallen out or has had to drop out for different reasons. So she's sort of like an addition to this mission. She sort of joins this crew, and it's going to be a 3-person crew that goes up into space. And so she's the French astronaut, the other astronaut's an American, and then there's a Russian. And so it looks on the surface of it like this is going to be about her training to get ready to go into space. But actually, it's about her and her relationship with her young daughter. She's got a young I don't know how old she is, about 8 or 9. She's got quite a young daughter that she raises on her own. She's split up with her husband, and she's basically preparing herself to go into space, but also preparing herself for that separation from her daughter.
Yeah.
So you see the events you see in the film about her preparing herself physically for this grueling mission. You also see her trying to prepare herself emotionally and mentally for the separation from her child. And I think that is where the film is about. It's a science fiction film in the same way that maybe Solaris is, in that it's actually not about the setting, it's about the people involved, and it's dealing with relationships. And so primarily I think Proxima is, yes, it's as you follow her through her training and how she finds it physically grueling, how she finds it emotionally demanding, but you see the greatest challenges for her is in how to be a mother.
Oh, good stuff. I like that. Okay, and so what do we think of the film, Shaun?
Okay, yeah, well, this film, for me, I mean, I love Eva Green anyway. I think she's a class act. I do. I really, really rate her incredibly highly in most of the things I've seen her in. And this was quite resonant because it's to do with your children, you know, it's to do with the daughter in particular. And like some of the things, it is difficult sometimes. And I'm always of the adage that if you say something, you have to do it. You know, if you sort of said or promised them something, even if you think, well, why did I do that? Why on earth did I say that? Because that's going to be really hard to do. You have to do it. That's what you have to do. So you get this conflict, you know. And obviously, there's moments in this film where she has to be very isolated, very concentrate on her work. So she's, you know, the conflict's there, isn't it? And Sharon nailed it when it's all about relationships and things like that. And I think who's the big actor in it, Sharon? What's his name?
Matt Dillon.
That's Matt Dillon. Yeah, Matt Dillon. I thought played the character that he was, because he was an astronaut that was going on the mission. He played that really well. So on the whole, I thought this was really, really well acted. I mean, it grabbed me, and I mean, I like space films anyway, as you know. And they actually used in the Vostok rocket, which, I mean, at the time the Americans didn't say, but it was far superior to the Saturn V. It was just is
this a period film? Is it set? It's not set in present day.
No. It's a modern film, but they still even to this day they still use, because they found a load in ancient. They found this massive. I remember seeing a documentary on it. They found this massive warehouse somewhere in Russia that had all these engines still in it, all these Vostok engines. So they just modified them, upgraded them, and that's what they use. They use because they're really, really efficient. So I really like that idea. That gave me a little bit of. I was thinking, oh mate, they really thought about this. But you know, so yeah. No, I really, really, really liked this film. I thought it was great. I thought it was well acted, and and there are some elements in it where you think it's going to go a certain way. I mean, there's some scenes where they build up a bit of tension, and you're thinking, they're gonna pick on her because she's a woman, and then it sort of doesn't really happen, and you're thinking, actually, they've done it very well. That they're saying, you know, when they were saying to her, maybe you might need to reduce your workload. They're not saying, because you're a woman. It's because, you know, you've actually got less time to prepare than anyone going into this mission. Because when you first look at it, you're thinking, they're going to be all misogynist, and then it's not. And then there's other scenes as well where you're thinking, is this going to turn into a little bit, not sort of lechy, but I was thinking, is there going to be an element of that in there? And then it steers away from it. So I think it does, that was a villain thing, wasn't it?
Yeah, because you see the obvious path, and then it sort of just steers away from it. So you think it's actually very clever in the way that it sort of builds up to something, and then says, you know what, we're not going to follow the trope here. We're going to tell a story that we want to tell. So I thought it was very well done as well.
Okay, so
and there's one comment. There's just one comment from there that's really good. It goes, and the Russian guy he says, "Stop trying to be the perfect mother." And I just thought that was. Oh no, there's no such thing as a perfect mother. I think was it something like that? Sharon, do you remember there was that comment? Do you remember that?
Absolutely,
There's no such thing as a perfect mother. So and I thought that was.
So how many stars?
There's no such thing as a perfect mother.
Yeah, there's no such thing as perfect.
Yeah.
So how many stars would you guys give this thing? Give this film?
I would definitely give this a 4. A 4 for me.
Yeah, I was torn between a 3 and a 4. 3 because I don't think it's immediately going to be an attention grabber, because it's a slow burn. It's not one that it's, the drama in it is minimal. It's all about this sort of slow burn and this build up of tension. So I think for the casual audience, I think it's a 3. But if you if you can give it the time and give it that attention, I think it's a 4. So I would give it a 4 because I thought it was worth giving it that attention.
Now okay, this. I should have trusted there was Eva Green, and she wasn't going to do something that was run of the mill. I really should have trusted that, because I remember seeing the posters of it and thinking, well, that looks a bit like standard. So I was like, but Eva Green, she doesn't do standard. That could be like, her motto: I don't do standard. So okay,
and I think it's a French production company behind it, because all the titles are in French, and it's because she's French, she speaks French, and her partner is German, so he speaks German, and then the Russians speak Russian, so they don't pretend that everyone is an American, and they all have to speak English. They actually,
I love that.
if they're just together, and it's her and her daughter, they're going to speak French because they are French.
Yeah.
So you do. It does make you have to be prepared to read subtitles, and every now and then you suddenly think, hang on, that's just speaking German now. So they do.
Yeah,
they do
that's right. It was really confusing, talking all French, and then like gets out of a taxi and goes "Danke," and it's like, hey. Why did that suddenly happen? But then as you get in and you find out husband's German, and they sort of live in Germany, then you think, oh yeah, well that makes sense. But,
good Lord.
So, and I mean, she sounded really, really good at the accents as well, didn't she? Convincing.
Yeah, she's obviously can do
Proxima.
Proxima.
Good return for cinema then. Good return for cinema.
Yes.
All right. So now let's get on to where did I put that on my... Let's get on to a film, a Netflix. So for those people who might be listening to this and be thinking, I've enjoyed the interviews, are we going to stop doing the interviews? I don't know. I'm kind of torn, because I've enjoyed doing the interviews, but now that we have cinema back and all that kind of stuff, we don't need to celebrate cinema so much. So we will be releasing a bunch of interviews, and we'll figure out what happens with the interviews going forward. I mean, I think it might become like, 2 shows a week. One show being us prattling on, one show being an interview. Who knows? But but we're still figuring things out. As they said at the cinema, when you ask them, what about this? Oh, we hadn't thought about that. We'll figure it out we'll figure it as we go along. So we now go home and we go to Netflix and streaming platforms and Friends, and we're going to have a look. And this is something that you saw, Shaun, called, what is it? The Decline.
The Decline, yeah.
So what is this? Tell us what this thing is.
Okay, well, this is a new movie. It's a Netflix movie. It's funny enough, we were talking about and speaking French, so it's a French-Canadian production, and basically it's like there's a survivalist guy that gives all tips on how to survive, how to, like what you can do if, and he runs these like classes. So there's a few fans sort of turn up to go on one of his courses, like he gives a course on how to protect yourself, how to make traps, how all this sort of stuff. So, and a little bit at the start of the film, they sort of develop the characters a little bit, so a little bit of their background stuff, and they end up here anyway. So, and they're doing lots of different things, and then there's a bit of an accident. And someone gets killed, and they're saying, oh, we need to get the police. I mean, basically need to get the police and all that. And the guy says, well, yeah, let's sleep on it, and we'll call him. Anyway, and then he burns all the stuff because he doesn't want the police. He said, oh, if the police come up here, you've got, we're going to get this, that, and the other. So there's a bit of a split of factions. So there's like a little bit of we know what we're going to do. We're going to try and, we've got to get out of here. We need to get out of here. And then another one's over listening and says to this guy, and so you can imagine where that's going to go. So you've got this massive, big survivalist. Yeah.
You took the word right out of my mouth. you said survivalist because I'm on Netflix at the moment. When they show you the trailer before you even asked for it, that without any sounds, I can see So I was about to say, is it like a survivalist wilderness movie?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. So there, that's sort of how it ends up after all the things that go on. Which sort of makes sense. What I liked about this movie is that it sort of made sense, because although the guy that's running the camp, do you know what I mean? He's got a conflict. You can see him thinking, because he doesn't want to be nasty, he doesn't want to be horrible, but he just doesn't want this whole world to come crashing down. So
because something's gone wrong.
But there's this other one of the group that actually does something, and so now he has to get rid of some of the others, because otherwise, he's got to. So it becomes a bit of a cat and mouse, a bit of a chasey game, quite tense, and because of course his land, there's all these traps and things,
Yeah,
so,
it looks like a real sort of like living off the line or living off the land kind of thing.
Yeah. So that's the basic story, and yeah. Sorry, you're laughing. Yeah, man. Are you watching the trailer? Are you?
No, look at the trailer. No, but the trailer combined with your description, it made me sound. It was like Bear Grylls or Ray Mears goes mad.
Yeah. It's not quite that one. Yeah, it's like that, because it's sort of based at a camp. He's got this camp, and like where they can sleep and things like that. So it's not so much. It's quite a civilized place, and although there's traps, it's still within the confines of grounds. It's not. It's not like just right massively in the wilderness, in the middle of nowhere with no buildings or anything. So go on.
So far, it sounds like this thing. It sounds like it's scratching your itches, shall I say? It sounds like
because
But yes, you're saying it looks like it has a little bit of genre in there. It looks like it has a little bit of 70s kind of like grit in there. And you said which is like the mark of. It's a mark of Shaun. It's like a Shaun's mark of approval if he says it makes sense.
Yes.
This film makes sense. That's like Shaun already going, yes, it makes sense. I can find no holes. Good. You are already on a 3-star. Let's see how you keep going.
How you keep going. So and what I really like about it as well is, and I think that's why I like The Hunt, is because in certain films you just get characters that they're like, oh, this person is going to be the protagonist, he's going to be
this one's going to be the antagonist. That's going to be the one that stabs him in the back. That's going to be one that gets killed first.
So yeah, exactly. So, but when the one that you think's not going to get killed gets killed, it like makes it quite good. I think I like that sort of thing. I mean, that was the same. I think that one of the last films before the lockdown, which was The Hunt, which was the same sort of thing.
Yeah. You said
I said about that. So I really liked that, and I thought the acting was really good. I don't know any of the actors really. I don't know if there was any big actors in there. So
they might be in the French in French cinema, French and Canadian cinema. Yeah. Because I think that's what sometimes you get to French Canadian stuff and you find really, really good stories, really, really good performances, and people you've never seen before.
And again, they speak a bit of French and a bit of English, so it's. I mean, watching all these films with French, Sharon, we'd be able to talk French, wouldn't we, mon ami? Jusqu'à, comme ça. I was going to go into Spanish then, but no, I'm going to think that. Ooh la la, c'est bon. Yeah. So
how many stars would you give this?
4 stars. 4 stars, no hesitation.
Oh, good.
4 stars for the decline. Oh, it looks like French stuff is where we should be going. That is the future. French stuff. Imagine if we could actually do this podcast in French. But
voulez-vous?
Je n'ai pas français. Je suis désolé. Je suis très désolé. All right, cool. Right now, so let's move on swiftly and let's see. Before Zoom kicks us out, let's see if we can get another film in. And this is Unhinged. And Unhinged is a big Russell Crowe, looking big, sweaty, and angry. Some people might say that's just normal Russell Crowe in life, but this is him What I know about this film is Russell Crowe he looks big, sweaty, angry, road rage. That's what I know about this film. So what is this film about?
That's basically it, Toes. It's a road rage film, and he's huge and he's big. I mean, and he is big. He is huge, and he looks mean. And the film starts off with something pretty brutal and pretty horrific. I won't give any spoilers, but it starts off, and then it becomes, this. What you can, I can say the bits in the trailer but the bit where he's sort of parked by traffic lights, and this lady comes behind with her son, and she's like, beep, and so he doesn't move, and they get caught in traffic, and he goes up by side and said, it'd be courteous, ma'am, to do a beep beep rather than a beep. Anyway, she's pretty, she's not very happy, so she gives him a few words and says, I'm not going to apologise for all of that. So he just goes chasing her on a rampage, and it starts off with so that's how it starts off, and then he's sort of driving fast, he's trying to scam. She pulls in for she loses him, then she pulls in for some petrol, and he just happens to pull up into the petrol thing, and she's left her phone in the car. And earlier on, so he's got, it's obviously she doesn't realise that he's done stuff and put trackers on, and so he knows.
Oh, wow.
He can find out everything. So he knows.
So he proper starts stalking her.
Oh, big time, yeah, big time, and not just her, all her friends, and so he goes. He says, "Oh," so he like calls her, and he's going, "Now, okay, now who do you want me to go next? It's going to be your son, your brother, your friend,
what?
Your yes." So he's like, and he says, "Oh, I'm going to do this." Da 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 da.
So if may I ask a question? So with this, is he more of a? Is he more like, how you have these movies where you have like a Fatal Attraction where it's very, very heightened and it's very, very Hollywood? Or is it more like, Michael Douglas in Falling Down, where it's just like, a normal person who the stresses of normal life have just gotten of city life have gone too much and he cracks?
Yeah, well, he's definitely cracked because the woman's going for a divorce, so obviously he's had some relationship issues. So he's like, oh, I bet I bet you're horrible, and so and he is unhinged. He's totally psycho nutter, and he looks horrible and evil, and so he does some pretty nasty things, and you've got your car chases and things like that. Now, so the bit in the petrol station, and it's in the trailer, so it's okay because I watched the trailer. There's a bit in the petrol station where he's pulled up and she sees him, and it's not a case of, I thought, oh no, probably she's going to just say, no, it's all right. But she actually says to the people in the garage, that guy's really, really, like,
he's after me, he's trying to get me and stuff.
That's road rage. And the cashier's going, that's road rage, honey. And a guy goes out with her, and he says, look, I'll come out with you, I'll make sure. And sort of, I won't say, sort of, I'll come out with you. And he goes,
Sean,
hey, man,
sentences, Sean.
Sorry, yeah. Hey man, what's your problem? You better not, do stuff. So so that bit, I really liked that bit, and it was up until that bit that I really, really liked it. And then,
how long into the film was that?
Maybe I don't know, maybe half an hour, perhaps half an hour.
Okay.
And then it died. Oh. Not so much with the action and the tenseness, but things that happened were incredibly convenient. Like shall we say, certain car crashes at certain time when there's certain police or whatever. Do you know what I mean? It's like, oh, that was convenient. Oh, that was convenient.
Yeah,
surely they'd have a helicopter in the air now, and the police would be full on. After some of the things he'd done, you'd think, but then I suppose it wouldn't be a film. The police would have been, should we say, there's one bit when the sort of police turn up, which was a different part of the film, but they'd have all been all over it. I'm sure they'd have had helicopters, because they knew it was going on. They're like, sorry, we're stuck. There's a big, there's been a big pile
a film falls foul of the Sean Harris. Hang on a second, this isn't making any sense.
Yes.
Litmus
and
test.
It's such a shame because it showed such promise. It showed such promise. So and I thought, that's good, that's great, that's all that, and then gradually, it was like, oh no, this is going to be your standard. Why? Why do people do things? And you think, why are you doing that? You would not do that if you were being chased by some mad psycho. What the hell are you doing?
Why are you going up the stairs in a?
What? Yeah. Well, you're going to go and
Why are you heading somewhere dark and quiet?
You know where people is, but why would you not make sure that someone's
around
going to get up and get you? It's like, why? Oh, I don't know. But that's just me.
So how many stars would you give it?
Okay, I'm going to say the first half an hour was a 4-star. The rest of the film was maybe a 2-star. So I average it out and I give it a 3. I'll give it a 3.
All right. Okay. Yeah, because I have to admit, when I saw the synopsis and I saw I haven't seen the trailer, but I saw what the film was about. I was like, this could go two ways. This could be a classic, like Falling Down. Have you guys seen that film? Michael Douglas.
Yes, I've seen Falling Down. Michael Douglas. Yeah.
Yeah, directed by Joel Schumacher, which is like a classic. This is what society's doing to people right now. Or it could be like, a schlocky Channel 5, ooh, there's a stalker after me, what am I going to do? kind of film. I was like, it could go either way, and I was wondering which way it would go. All right, cool. Yeah. So that is Unhinged. So all in all, not a bad return for cinema. I think those are the only two things we're going to talk about, because Shaun, I know you went to see The Empire Strikes Back, but
yes, I did.
What do we have to say about that hasn't already been said? So
yeah, I mean, it was just it was worth going for the Battle of Hoth. The ice planet, the Battle of Hoth. I enjoyed it. I thought it was, it was a bit nostalgic. It's funny, a couple of the scenes now, though. It's funny with effects, and the CGI and stuff, because you tend to notice a little bit more. I think it must have been, the blue screen thing. So some of the ships, when they're taken off from Hoth, you could actually. They actually looked
like models.
Like models, yeah. They actually looked more like models than. So I guess. Well, I mean, if you think when it was made, it was.
Yeah.
But it was still a very much fun film. Still a good fun film. A lot of people rate that as like the highest. For me, it's.
So are you trying to tell me that it's better than Rise of the Skywalker? Come on, man! You can't be serious.
Oh,
you can't be serious that it's better than Rise of Skywalker.
No, it's definitely better than the Rise of Skywalker. But what I mean is it is a good one. It is a good one out of the
original 3.
That sort of era. Yeah, the original 3.
Yeah.
And so, but it's everybody loves that when everybody says The Empire Strikes Back is the best of the bunch.
Yeah.
I think it's okay. It's probably my. Probably my fourth favourite, I would think.
Ooh, okay. That sounds like a discussion for another time.
It certainly does. It sounds like a discussion.
So yeah, because I know that with the.
I mean, that's everybody rates at the top one, don't they? Everybody's like,
well, that is like the cool thing to say. It is the cool thing to say. It's like it's kind of like one of those things, like to talk about the fact that cool opinions that you're supposed to have is that The Empire Strikes Back is the best Star Wars movie. The Godfather 2 is better than The Godfather 1. Those sort of things that Sean Connery is the best Bond ever. Those are all sort of like things that a lot of people will be like, that is undeniable. But I don't think it's as undeniable as you think it is. So yes. Anyway, but yeah, that sounds like a discussion for another one about what are the top 3 Star Wars movies that come before that one. But we know it's definitely not Rise of Skywalker because. Anyway,
yeah, it's definitely not Rise of Skywalker.
All right, so we're gonna go back home, and obviously you're gonna hear Shaun talking again because, as we said, Shaun did go beast mode this week. So Shaun, Last Days of American Crime. What is this?
Okay, Last Days of American Crime. I saw this. This was on Netflix as well. So I guess you could say it was like a little bit of a double bill. Although I did see them on different nights, but I just thought, because when I was away,
this isn't French as well, is it?
Pardon?
I said this isn't French as well.
No, this isn't French. This one isn't French. No. Well, basically, the story is it's sort of in the near future, I guess, and the US government. They've got this beam thing, this thing that stops people knowingly commit a crime. So if they knowingly commit a crime, they get like a horrible thing in the synapses of the brain or something similar along this way. Yeah. So and basically a MacGuffin. Yeah. So they can't they can't use they've robbed money. They can't do anything. As I say, they cannot do anything knowingly to be wrong. So they've a bit like the Purge, I suppose, where they say, "Oh, you've got this much time." So anyway, they've got a couple of days. So what it says, the last days of American crime. These guys decide they're going to do a heist, a last sort of bank robbery type thing, and that's basically the story. So you've got these two characters, which are like, you've got a girl character that sort of seduces him, and then you've got this weird boyfriend whose father is like the local mafia boss, but he wants to prove himself. And so there's all these different little subplots, and
so it's essentially people. So is the whole thing about people trying to commit a crime in a world in which it's supposed to be impossible to commit a crime?
Yeah, but not yet. They've still got like a little bit of time before they can do it.
I see.
Okay, so they say
it's not going to be switched on. Yeah, it's not going to be switched on before this time. So they've got a little bit of time.
It's like saying you're going to have to wear a mask in the cinema from this date, and before that, you go in there and try and watch as many films without a mask.
That's a great analogy. Yes, definitely. Yeah. Oh, cool. That's cool. Thank you, Toes. You're always so good at coming up with those things. So that's damn straight. That's exactly right.
Okay.
So so it's basically that. So they've got a few days to work out and do this crime. I mean, it's quite violent and bloody. There's a lot of shooting going on, which you think I would like, and all that sort of stuff.
Oh dear, this doesn't sound good already.
It doesn't, does it? It doesn't. This film is just all over the show. It's all over the place. And I think with Netflix, I don't know, they seem to just give people money, don't they, and say, go and make a film. They don't seem to...
make a film.
Make a film. And I mean, you might get a decent one like The Irishman or something like that, but then I won't go back on the other one I'm thinking of. But anyway, and this looks like, I mean, I don't know who the director was, but it was I don't know if he was being self-indulgent. I don't know if he was trying to prove something, trying to bring in all the genres of loads and loads of different movies. It was just, and it was long. Oh, it was long, and it was silly, and it was dull, and it was boring. Excuse me. But I did watch it with my friend, and I didn't think it was quite as bad as I did. I think he quite enjoyed it. So yeah. So there you go.
It's got Edgar Ramirez in it. Edgar Ramirez, Michael Pitt. So this is not a rubbish cast.
No, it's not a rubbish cast. No, I know it's not. But it is a rubbish film. So, well, in my opinion, and I think they've been wasted.
Okay. So, the director is Olivier Megaton.
Right. Okay. Isn't that one of the Transformers?
Yeah, the Transporter.
Yeah. No. That's one of the Transporters called Megaton, isn't it?
No, Megatron.
Oh, Megatron.
Yeah, but Olivier Megaton. He actually. Yeah, I know. People say he's got. People have mentioned his name. They're like, oh my god, the guy's got an awesome name. If I remember correctly, he directed at least one, maybe two of the Jason Statham Transporter movies.
No, right. That'll explain it.
And I think he directed. So I've got to check this because I remember the first Transporter movie is I quite like the first Transporter movie. Then after that, he did Transporter 3. That was the bad one.
That was the bad one. Yeah.
That was the bad one. And he did Taken 2. He did Taken 2 and Taken 3. So, which were the bad ones? So,
yeah. So that explains it. Then. But it's a really long film. It's a really, really long film.
2.5 hours. 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
But what you were saying about Netflix, I agree with you. I think what Netflix do is that Netflix, because for someone like Olivier Megaton, he has a following, and there's people who like his certain type of film. Like I know Transporter 2. Or Transporter 3, for instance, there's people who actually quite like it. I think it's rubbish. But there's people... So Netflix go, well, if people like you, and if we give you money to make a film, people will go and buy Netflix subscriptions to watch the film, whether it's good or not.
It's true.
And if we have a whole bunch of people who go watch this film, go sign up to Netflix because, Olivier Megaton made a film, and then they say, there's this other thing, and there's this other thing, and Netflix goes, and you might also like, blah, blah, blah. They're going to stay on Netflix.
Yeah, it's true.
As I said, I mean, I signed up to Netflix for a 1 month trial, and 7 years later, I still have a Netflix account. So and think about how much money they made off me, and then multiply that by millions, and they're like, yeah. So I agree with you.
Yeah, they can throw money at stuff, can't they?
Yeah, I agree with you. Netflix don't care if the film is any good. All they care is that it gets people's interest enough for them to sign up to Netflix. So
and to keep that content running, to keep it rolling. So because they know that people are not going to be scrolling through their 3 million back catalogue titles. They want to see the new stuff that keeps.
Yeah. So and I think it's something that I think in the longer interview with remember my friend Juan who works in content production and all that, he was talking a lot more about that, and he was talking a lot more about how these things work and how Netflix are coming up with their own original thing, and what's their concern is when they're coming up with something original. And I agree with you, Shaun, it's not necessarily that the film's any good.
But they can like you say, they can do it because they got so much other stuff, haven't they? It's not like
and this is the real, when we talk about Netflix and cinema, this is the real problem that film studios have, is that Netflix don't have to pay anybody to go show a film in cinema. They don't have to do they don't have to do a massive promotional thing. They just shove it on there, and they tell the hundreds of millions of people who have never, hey, want to see this? You don't? Okay, cool.
There's plenty of other stuff.
There's plenty of other. Ooh, that is loud. Sorry. That was 7 minutes done on that. So, how many stars would you give Last Days of American Crime?
2 stars.
2 stars for Last Days of American Crime.
Quality production.
Okay, cool. Quality production. All right, and now we come on to our final thing. And I left this to the last because I'm not sure what state I'm going to be in after I finish talking about this film.
Ooh.
I honestly don't know what state I'm going to be in after talking about this film. This is a film called The Nightingale, directed by Jennifer Kent, who is an Australian director who directed The Babadook, a film I'd never seen. Which I think people say that on the surface that's supposed to be a horror movie, but it's a lot more about, like, you know, relationship between, like, it's about grief and all that kind of stuff. So this is a film that essentially, this is my kind of horror movie. This is my kind of horror movie in that it's not a horror movie, it's history. And what she's done is that she's Australian, and this is a film that it's like an attempt to reckon with the history of Australia and how Australia got formed as a country and what happened when you had the colonialists come in and all that sort of people come in, and the brutal, horrible landscape essentially that country got formed out of. Essentially, for me, I walked out of I walked out of this film, or I finished watching this film, and I didn't sleep well last night after watching the film. Did not sleep well last night after watching this film. There's bits in this film that are not pleasant to watch whatsoever. That will they just like, even in the opening 10-15 minutes, there's just things that you're like, oh no, oh my god, no, that happen in the film. And you just, it's a hard watch. And I think she's done that deliberately, because it's almost kind of like someone's gone back and decided, we're going to make a documentary about what life was like. It has, and and essentially how terrible life was. The entry into it is because there's a lady called Claire. She was an Irish convict that was sent to Australia, and there's Sam Claflin plays, like, you know, he's a lieutenant of this area, and she is under he refers to her as his property. He refers to her as his property, and she's like, I've done my 3 years, sir, can I get my papers? And he's refusing to give her papers because she's gone married to another Irish guy. They have a kid, and he's refusing to give her papers because, as far as he's concerned, he owns her and he can do whatever the hell he wants with her. And Sam Claflin in this film is horrible. He is absolutely horrible. It goes from, and they call it the Nightingale because she sings for them. They say, oh, get the Nightingale out, let her sing for us and all that. And you can imagine you have this one woman with a whole bunch of sort of like lecherous British army people who were actually made from convicts, and you know where this is going, and the film does not shy away from that. But then it goes on to the treatment of the Aboriginals oh my god. Okay, now this is something that for me, with the love story that's going on in the world today, this is something that I've been looking into history, and as I said, I don't need horror movies because history is horrific enough. And there's just bits about this that I walked out of this film thinking Australia, the formation of Australia as it is at the moment, is a crime, is an absolute crime. And it's just, I know that might be a very, very harsh thing to say, but that's the kind of thing that this film just so it leaves you with. I mean, there's Sam Claflin character, what he does, the way he goes about it. Remember when we saw Detroit?
Yes, I remember.
We spoke about Will Poulter in Detroit and how he was really good in that role, but he was so good at it that you're like, oh, man, I hope he has other work. He needs to go do a comedy now because because if you associate that character with him, you will hate that guy for life.
He was. Well, that's good.
And so there's a lot of things in here that the film is grappling with, and I think it's like that you can feel an anger that comes in at the wiping out of a people. There's an Aboriginal character who they call Billy, but his name isn't Billy, and he keeps saying, "Yeah, my name isn't Billy. My name is Mangana. I'm the Blackbird." And the film's in 3 languages. It's in English, it's in Irish, and it's in Palawakani, which is a local and there's just shots. A local language, the original Australian language, and there's bits where he's like, he talks about what they did, that they took him away from his family, they killed his family in front of him, that they took him away and said, okay, forget who you are, now you will be a white boy, you would dress like us, you would do this, they've taken me away from my culture, and you know how when you say something is violent, and there's things that are violent that is like that are. That almost sort of glamorizing violence, and you can have fun with it. A bit like one of the most violent films I've ever seen, The Raid. I remember there's a friend of mine, Tauda, who there's one particular scene, and even if you look at it on YouTube, it's called Death by Door, and it's brutal, but you're like, oh, and it's kind of fun. This film is brutal, but it is not fun at all. It is not fun at all. It is just harrowing. It is harrowing. What happens to women? What happens to the Aboriginal? And I think it becomes a sort of like a revenge thriller at some point. But in the middle of this revenge thriller, they put all these big thorny questions of. Well, for me, I walked out going, okay, why is nobody talking about this? Why is nobody talking about the fact that they did this to the Aboriginals? And then when you go over to America and you think, what? And essentially this is a film that the British, a subtitle of this could be, and if you excuse the term, the British were bastards. It could be The Nightingale, subtitle, The British were bastards. And and there's some bits towards the end where there are some character things that I still don't understand why on earth they did that. So it's a bit like, what you were saying, Shaun, where you're going, why would you do that if you're trying to do that? And I think it's a film that's too deliberately made for that to have been a mistake, or for that to have been like, oh, we just ran out of time, and we just. So I still don't know exactly what they were trying to get at when a character's motivation switches a little bit, but I think it's a great film. There's some films that I would say were really, really difficult watches that I wouldn't watch again. I would actually watch this one again because if for no other reason. Yeah, I mean, if for no other reason.
Is that a Netflix one?
It's on Netflix. Well, it's not a Netflix film. It was made for cinemas, but it didn't have a wide release because Jennifer Kent isn't like a massive name. She's almost kind of like a bit more indie, shall I say? But the film, I think. Shaun, you will watch it and you will be able to talk about, oh, well, that wasn't the right regimen and that was you will be able to talk about that. I don't know about that stuff. But I just think for showing an area of history, I think some people have described it as one of the most shameful bits of British history that doesn't really get spoken about. And showing, there's one particular Aboriginal character, Uncle Charlie. And what Uncle Charlie does in the film, I love, because it's kind of like these people are taking everything from me. They've taken my home, they've stripped it, they've taken my culture, they've dressed me in their clothes, and it's all about how he finds a tiny bit of defiance in the midst of everything that's being done to him, and how he might just find a tiny bit of defiance to say, I don't care what you say about me. I don't care how you try and dehumanize me. I am still my own person. I'm still my own man, and I love what he does. I love what he does. So it's a great film. I would give it a 4. And it's really close to a 5, but there's just some stuff towards the end where I'm not sure. I'm not sure what they were going for, but I would watch it again. And also, it has the actor who, apparently he had never acted before, who plays Mangana, who plays the guy who everybody calls Billy, because that's what the British did. Walk around. We can't pronounce your name. We'll call you this instead. You will now be Bob. His name is. I want to get this right. It's like Gambaya. The Nightingale. There we go. The Nightingale film. Nope, film. I need a film. Where is it? Film. There we go. 2018 Australian film.
2018. Cool.
Yeah.
I quite like some Australian films.
Yeah. It's Bekali Ganambar. And I think he is great. He is great. He's really, really natural. And there's some bits where he talks about. He says things about the British occupation of Australia that, coming from a country that was occupied by the British, as I've grown older, I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, why are you trying to make me like you? Yeah, all that kind of stuff. So great film. But as I said, I did not sleep well after watching it. I did not sleep well after watching it. It almost had me in tears at bits, and it makes me just so like, it's like, you're like, okay, so if that's what happens, I know we can't live in the past. I know we can't keep blaming people for things, but how do we go forward? We need to acknowledge this, and we need to try and help. For me, it made me think we need to try and help Aboriginal Australians, because, quite frankly, they got shafted. I suppose they got absolutely shafted.
I remember seeing a film about New Zealand with the Maoris, and the film was called Once
We Were Warriors. Yeah.
Yeah. And and I guess the Americans did it with the Native Americans, didn't they? And it happened all over the world, really. With the good old anyway. Yeah,
it's a whole thing. I mean, and I have to admit, for me, it is a bit of an open wound that has been being poked out recently. And it's just made me think, I don't know why, but it seems like when you went around the world, the darker skin tone you wear, wherever the British went, the darker you were, the worse they treated you. And I don't know why that is. I sort of look at they went to India. What they did in India was nowhere near as bad as what they did in Africa, or what they did in Australia. I'm like, why? Why was it that Europeans just said that the darker you are, the worse you're treated? And I'm not as dark as they come, but I'm pretty close. So it just makes me think, if I've been born at a different time, then what the hell? So, but anyway, great film, 4 out of 5. As I said, I will stop there because I could go on and on about this and about the things, even the fact that you had The Nightingale, which is set in 1825, and then you have Detroit, which is set in 1960s, and it's the same thing. Over hundreds of years, it's the same thing. Oh, but anyway,
I should try and catch that one then.
I think
catch that. Is it a long film, or is it sort of what's the running time?
It's about 2 hours 10 minutes.
All right, okay.
It's about 2 hours 10 minutes, but it's well worth it. But I mean, even if you just watch the first 20 minutes, good lord, as I said, I did not sleep well. All right, okay. Before we wrap up, let's try and talk about I will say cheerier things, but it depends on who you are. Because we're recording this in the week that Disney announced that Mulan, which was going to be one of their big summer blockbusters.
I know.
That was going to get people back in the cinemas, wasn't it? Well,
that was going to get people
anyway.
Yeah, it was going to get people back in the cinemas, and it was. But I think it was a big part of their strategy this year. Because it's Chinese, we're actually having a Chinese director. We're gonna have Chinese characters. We're gonna treat the thing with respect, and everything that everybody has been saying about it has been really, really good. And they said that they're pulling this out of cinemas, and it's going to be released on Disney Plus. It's not just for free on Disney Plus, but you have to pay like £30 to actually watch it.
Yeah, and it's not released in Britain yet, is it either?
It's not released. They haven't clarified what they're going to do in Britain, so they don't know whether it's going to be in cinemas or whether it's going to be on Disney Plus. And this is so it's a real. So we've just spoke about Netflix cinema. We got cinema back. Cinema's come out swinging with some 4-star films, but there's a massive fight on because the COVID lockdown around the world has changed a whole bunch of things, and people are saying that Disney might look at this. They've looked at their subscriptions go up loads on Disney Plus, and people are wondering, is this going to make Disney go, well, we don't really need cinemas, and then they're just going to shaft cinemas because they can just pump it directly into people's eyeballs. And someone did the maths and said if they have 60.5 million people subscribing, and the number of people that they need to pay that £30 to make the film break even is not that great. Is not that great as opposed to putting it in the cinema and everything like that. So it is. So yeah, I don't know. I've just as I said, it might be cherrier news for Disney because they found a way of making even more money and dominating even more of the world, but not so cherry news for cinemas. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I'm of two minds about this because I did read that yesterday about Moolah, and I thought, yes, you can see their strategy is that, if we've got big enough audience on our own platform, then we don't need to pay for publicity. We don't need to negotiate deals with hundreds of different countries. We've got this. But then on the other hand, I thought, well, actually, Disney's got so huge that if you take them in some ways out of the equation, then that frees up an awful lot of screen time for the smaller independent films.
Yeah, true.
And I'm thinking, if the only positive I can see out of that is, it may mean that you may get the smaller films will suddenly have a bit more space in the cinemas. That's the only positive spin I could put on it, because there's some films I would have liked to have seen at the cinema, but it doesn't get a shoe in because there's certain films will be on 10 screens for a month running, and you may get the smaller film may get 2 showings on a Friday night or on a Saturday night at 11:30. So you think to make the cinema more accessible for those smaller films, for one of the behemoths to move out the way, it might be an opportunity.
Yeah, and also, I mean, the fact is that Disney do have a lot of stuff waiting in the wings. They have a lot of stuff that they're trying. They have all the Marvel stuff. They have, there's a lot of stuff that they had planned for this year. And I can just imagine that if they're going to try and do it between now and the end of the year, there could be a Disney
clear
film.
Some of their stock.
Yeah. Pretty much, it's like a clearance sale that they go clear some of the stock and get things out of the way. But yeah,
that's a shame, really, because I'd like to see Mulan. I would have liked to see it
at the cinema, but I won't get Disney Plus just to watch it. Especially if I've got to pay on top, I won't.
If you go pay on top, it's not going to happen. But I do think that they will do it in some way. But I think that there is because, as I say, there's a lot of things that people are changing. They're changing the way they live, or they're changing the way they do things. It's a bit like, I think at the moment, office blocks. I think office blocks are going to be in big trouble because people are going to realize that they've managed to work for home for 4 months, and they're going to think, why the heck are we paying all that rent to that office block? We don't need to have people in this. So I think there's going to be a shift as people are going to go, hang on a second, this cinema thing, what do we actually need it for? And it will distill down. I think Wale was saying last week about what you go to the cinema for and what you stay at home to watch, and it will distill down what it is that people are actually going to go to the cinema for, which might mean, as we said, no more rom-coms, but a lot more bang bang. But it's but hey.
Oh well, the cinema survived a lot of scares in its time, so fingers crossed. Hopefully, it will survive this one too.
It will survive this one, and hopefully, it will survive the having to wear face coverings for 3 hours.
Yeah.
But I know people who've worked in shops who say once you get used to it, you just do it. It's part of your uniform, and hospital staff have had to adjust to wearing, face coverings for hours upon hours. So I think sitting for 2.5 hours or an hour and a half in a cinema is not such a big ask.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's been nice to have a comfortable. I keep looking at people that have got these sewn masks. The ones that I wonder if they're more comfortable than like the disposable ones. So,
the ones I've made myself, I think, are more comfortable. I've got a very soft cotton that I wear. You still sweat underneath it, but I found it's not the disposable ones. I've got a slight texture to them, and I find that by the end of the day, if I've been talking or if I've just been moving, I feel like I've been slightly abraded around my face.
Yeah.
Whereas the very smooth, soft cotton that I've made, it is much more comfortable against your skin.
Oh, I might have to commission you to do me one then.
Yeah. I've got some penguin fabric. I can make you a penguin one.
Oh, penguin. That'd be interesting.
All right, until next week, where Shaun and Sharon would have gone to, well, Shaun would have gone to sit down through a whole bunch of Lord of the Rings things, and you let us know what it's like watching a mask and watching, like, Bilbo and co do stuff on screen.
Yeah, well, I'm
no, that's Frodo. It's Frodo and stuff, isn't it? It's Frodo and, yeah.
Frodo, yeah.
Yeah,
and if it gets really hot, my glasses steam, so I might have to do the whole, just...
Yes, you let that, and I will still be sat here going, "Oh man, I really wish that the Odeon in Nuneaton would open up again. It would be really, it would be so good if I could make it." Yeah. Oh, so yeah. Until then, it's a goodbye from me.
It's a goodbye from me,
and it's a goodbye from me.
We will see you next week. We have a Netflix for cinema, and cinemas are back! Yay!